Okay, I'm gonna do the intro now. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You got this.
Okay, here we go. Hey, everybody! Welcome to episode 6 out of 8 episodes of Lisa and Kaitlin's Holiday Movie Club.
I really like the pause for dramatics. Yes, you got the title of our podcast correct.
I just blanked on the title. You'd think by episode 6 that I'd have it down by now, but I don't. Welcome to episode 6 of Lisa and Kaitlin's Holiday Movie Club, where we discuss our absolutely favorite good, bad holiday movies that, you know, they fill you full of Christmas joy, but they also make you cringe a lot, you know? They just kind of, they make you wince.
We like to go for the so bad it's good holiday variety, a good old
so bad
cheesy rom-com, if you will.
Yes, and I try to give a little background at the beginning of every episode. So Kaitlin and I have been friends for 2,000 years, and every year at this time, we text back and forth furiously about all of the new holiday movies on Netflix and all the streaming services, and you know, we just text huge paragraphs back and forth about how much we love them, how much we hate them, and all the plot holes, all the most ridiculous things that you see in Christmas movies. In fact, I believe it was Jovenshire recently from Smosh Games. He tweeted that all Christmas movies, I'm gonna butcher it, all Christmas movies are either ones you've seen 1,000 times or the worst movie you've ever seen in your life. I kind of sort of agree with that. But that's why we're here. We love talking about these cheesy movies. And this week on the lineup, we have got the 2-episode Holiday Movies That Made Us. It's the spinoff of Movies That Made Us on Netflix. We're going to talk about the cast of Derry Girls on the Great British Baking Show's Festive edition. We're going to talk about a movie called Hometown Holiday on Netflix. Caitlin's really going to take the reins on that one. And we're going to finish up Dash and Lily because here's the deal. I couldn't stop watching. I was trying to save one episode per our episode, but the last 3 episodes were so bingeable and they were kind of just one. It was weird. It didn't feel right to stop. Like, I just had to keep going, which I think is a testament to the show. So we're just going to wrap up Dash and Lily completely. Did I cover everything, Kaitlin?
You covered everything, Lisa. Yeah, no, I'm so excited. I actually thought of you this week because one of the other podcasts I like to listen to, How Did This Get Made, is doing their Christmas editions. And one of the movies they're covering is the A Very Nutty Christmas, which I believe we texted back and forth during, because it's the one with Melissa Joan Hart, where she's a baker and the Nutcracker comes to life. Remember that a couple years ago?
Yes, that was recent, right? Like last year or the year before?
Yeah, it was like a year or 2 years ago with the oldest brother from Seventh Heaven is the Nutcracker.
Dude,
Barry
Watson.
Yes.
He was a guest star on all that during my seasons. He's like the nicest dude.
Yes.
He's super cool.
And
I love Barry Watson.
And he plays a Nutcracker.
Because of course he does. Because that's the type of movie we love. I'm Lisa Foyles. With me, as always, is my partner in crime, my fellow club member. Well, we're kind of like club captains.
Yeah, club captains.
Yeah, club leaders. I don't
club
know.
co-chairs, you know, whatever. Hi! And of course, we have Puns, who you usually hear snoring in the background. That is Puns. My dog.
Puns is a dog. Yes, Puns is a dog. You should know that by now. So before we get going, what are you drinking tonight, Kaitlin?
I just have a glass of Pinot Noir, and then I told Lisa that she would like my wine glass, even though it's not festive, it's still fun, and it says, "This wine tastes like I'm not going to work tomorrow." Which I got as a holiday gift.
It is festive.
Yeah.
It is festive because during the holidays, often we do not go to work.
I mean, it's true.
So it works out.
Winter break.
And, so it's funny because when we started this podcast, we went all out and we had all these fancy drinks and mixed drinks and wine and stuff. And now I told Kaitlin that I grabbed a green White Claw.
Very festive. Okay.
Festive as I am today.
So I'm still sad. White Claw has never done a holiday White Claw and called it a Santa Claw.
Genius.
I know, it's so good. I don't know what flavor it would be. Maybe like
what flavor would it be?
Or something like winterberry.
Yeah, like a cranberry.
Yeah.
I know, because when I think of holiday flavors, I go for like cinnamon. I'm like, that wouldn't.
And it was like peppermint. No.
maybe if they made it taste like one of them hot cinnamon bears. You know them red cinnamon bears that you chew on? You're like, my mouth is burning.
You could do
but then
that.
it's good.
Or I was going to go with like an apple cinnamon.
Yes.
An apple cinnamon White Claw I could
you
see.
Could do like an apple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, a pumpkin. Sounds terrible. It's the worst thing ever. Although they do have pumpkin beer. So yeah, White Claw, get on that because that's a genius idea. And then give us money because, actually, give Kaitlin money because she came up with it. I'm just riding her coattails.
Give the podcast money. Be a proud sponsor of our podcast.
Yes. So, I have an apology to make because I believe it was last episode. I called out Kaitlin because I said she was wrong. Kaitlin was like, I'm pretty sure that Holiday Movies That Made Us is only going to be 2 episodes. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. I know everything. I'm smarter than you. It's going to be 4 episodes. And they've just only released the first 2. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, you're so super sweet as I'm over here just being like bossy bee, you know? Well, I was wrong. There is only 2 episodes.
I'm surprised, honestly. I thought there would be at least 4 episodes to follow it up, but I think it's hard, as you were talking about, because I know you've watched all of the episodes from the Movies That Made Us, because they cover Home Alone, and then don't they cover another? Oh, they cover Die Hard, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, Home Alone, Dirty Dancing, Die Hard, and Die Hard is considered a Christmas movie
obviously.
Among smart people. So I guess, we have kind of 4, but I was hoping that they would do a couple more. But no, we watched these 2, and they're both phenomenal. I really, working in the entertainment industry and, just movies and TV in general, since I was 12 years old, I'm really interested in how things get made and the stories of how a screenplay idea turns into like a blockbuster film. And it's never just a traditional route. It's always something crazy. So this series focuses on how Elf got made and how one of my all-time favorites, The Nightmare Before Christmas, got made.
Yeah. No, I thought it was both episodes were super fascinating because I actually did not know much about how the movies were made, especially Elf. So it was Elf was really fun because it was like a bunch of unknowns with a bunch of circumstances and a lot of chance that helped it bring it together, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, get us started, Kaitlin. Give us like a little rundown on the origins of Elf.
So the origins of Elf was basically a writer wrote it thinking of his dad who had passed away when he was younger, and he kept thinking about those classic holiday movies that you watch with your family. I think it was like Rudolph was the one they kept going back to, like the stop animation. I'm sure we've all seen on
all the Rankin and Bass films that I absolutely love. Like one of my all-time favorites is Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That's the one with the abominable snowman, right?
I haven't watched them in so long. I used to watch them on cable.
So amazing.
But they were not staples in my like Christmas growing up. Like our family was more of like a Dr. Seuss's The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, a little Charlie Brown Christmas. Those were more in the rotation than what is it? Is it Franken? Bacon and Bass? Rankin and Bass.
I just
classics.
Side note before we continue. How do you feel? And I need an honest answer. How do you feel about the Jim Carrey Grinch?
It's not my favorite, but I'm okay with it.
Kaitlin, it's my favorite. I love it so much.
I like the old school classic. I do think I will give Jim Carrey credit because him putting in the costume and doing the makeup and everything took hours every day, and the fact that they had to bring someone in from the Navy to teach him what it takes to if you're being tortured and give him torture training and how to survive torture so he could keep doing this intense process with makeup. I give kudos to Jim Carrey. I thought it was fine.
It's okay that you don't like it. You don't have to backpedal.
I don't
or anything
hate it.
Because
like,
you now know that I love it. You can be like, it's garbage.
No.
And I'm totally fine with that.
I don't think
know
it's
that
garbage.
I'm a freak.
I think
I love it.
It's not my favorite. I would definitely go animated over live action. Just me personally.
Yeah.
I also have a lot of nostalgia with the animated. If live action was on, I'd watch it, but I wouldn't be like, yeah, let's watch it, If I had to choose between the two, I'd go animated always.
You wouldn't make your entire family sit down and watch The Grinch with you like I did a week ago. That's not your style. You know
Well,
what? I think
I
it
also
was
haven't
like
watched. Have you watched the new version, like the Illumination one that came out last year, which I think is
with
also on Netflix?
Benedict Cumberbatch or whatever. Yeah,
I haven't
with
watched it yet.
Doctor Strange. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
believe
haven't watched
so.
it.
I just know it's
I've
the
watched
same
some of it,
same company
and
who's made the Minions and Despicable Me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Chloe likes it. Chloe watched it. My daughter, she's 4. So I don't know if her opinion counts, but
I mean,
that's kids'
it
movie, so
definitely
it does. Yeah, she likes it, and I kind of watched like the first third of it with her, and I thought it was fine. But I agree with you. I love the original animated version. I mean, that's my favorite over the Grinch, the live action one. But man, the live action one is a close second. I really do like it. I saw it in theaters. Afterward, I did my hair like Cindy Lou when I got home with the braids and everything. One of the hairdressers on all that for one of the seasons did hair on the Grinch on the set. And she did Cindy Lou and I think the mom. And so I had 1,000 questions for her, and she was telling me all these like behind the scenes stories.
Oh,
so I
that's
feel like I
always
had
so
maybe
fun.
a little more of a connection to it than most people, and maybe that's why I was so obsessed with it. But I gotta tell you, I love it so much.
You gotta
I really
take.
do.
I know Universal when it was open around the holidays. They used to do the Grinch would be open in like Whoville, which you normally see on like that backdraft studio tour. They actually let you stop there, get out, and then they have the Grinch and they have Max around and stuff. So you gotta take
Girl,
Chloe. And
I
do
went.
That. Yeah, there you
I
go.
did it.
There you go.
Yes. They have sledding. They had sledding, and I got my picture with the Grinch. Yeah, I'm all over it.
I feel
Okay,
like
but
I'm left out. Anyway, so
We can go back to Elf.
So Elf. So it was basically a writer who was trying to capture that nostalgia. He met an unknown producer who had a fellow unknown producer, but he had some connection to what's his name? Will Ferrell. And this is at the time Will Ferrell was like on SNL. He was not like a movie powerhouse yet. Like Old School has not come out. This is still early. The only thing that he's probably done is Night at the Roxbury, which is also, I think it's a hilarious movie.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, Lisa.
I know.
What is love, Lisa? What is love?
Sorry, I'll do it.
Anyway.
I'll watch it.
And so then they get connected by this very junior executive who is at New Line. And he convinces his boss to buy into this because New Line was mostly known for horror movies or edgy comedies, most notably Nightmare on Elm Street. And they decided, yeah, let's take a risk on this kids Christmas movie with Will Ferrell. And then away they start to go.
Yeah, it's so funny to think that they were worried about Will Ferrell starring in the movie.
I know.
Because now he's such a huge movie star and he's so incredible at everything he does that I guess I didn't realize that Elf was that old, that when they were planning the movie, they were just like, you can't have Will Ferrell star in it, like Will Ferrell. And then
and that how
what's the
they were
one that you said? The college one? What's it called?
Old School.
Yeah, so then Old School comes out
Frank the
during
Tank.
the production, during the post-production of Elf. And then they start freaking out even more because he's now the star of this really raunchy adult comedy. You know, that's like his first starring movie role aside from Roxbury. So now they're like, wait a minute, now we're taking this, raunchy comedy star and now putting him in a kids movie? Like, that's not going to attract the audience that we wanted to. And they were worried and they tried to re-edit the movie so the ending was totally different, but of course it was not keeping in the spirit of how the movie was originally intended. So they fought, I think that's the one thing that I've taken away from all of these movies, the Ghostbusters, Home Alone, Dirty Dancing, Die Hard, even Nightmare Before Christmas, is that even though the people putting these movies together did not have the clout to stand up to the executives, they did it anyway. And they demanded that their vision, their original vision, be kept throughout, no matter what. And props to them, because I'm sure there are thousands of movies every year where the writers or the producers like they try to stand up to the studios and say, no, this is the way we want to do it. And then the studios say, oh, cool, we're taking your money away. Buy movie. So And they say, goodbye to that idea. But these ones, it worked. So
yeah,
I thought that was kind of crazy.
I also think it also showed the power of a good director and them getting everyone in line in the vision. I think that also themes into the Nightmare Before Christmas episode as well. But because Elf was one of the big hits for Jon Favreau. Like I think he had done one movie, like he did Swingers, and then he did one other movie I think before Elf. But this was like the big thing that he became known for, and now like Jon Favreau
he proved himself on this movie. That's insane.
Yeah, that he had like the 3 like values that they went into with Elf, and they made sure like he built a team around him where everyone was focused on those things, and even with like budget constraints, like the fact that they only had like I think a handful of days in New York, so they got like all the exterior scenes, like the Lincoln Tunnel and everything was like Will Ferrell and one camera guy actually in the Lincoln Tunnel to get those shots, or like the revolving doors, and just really that dedication to capture New York before they moved to location in Vancouver. I did also think it was fascinating because we did an esports event in Vancouver, and when they built Santa's workshop and to get those wide shots, the place that they did it was actually a place I had one of those. I had an esports event at P&E Coliseum, and I was like, oh, I wish I would have known that. That's so cool. Like I know that hosted the Olympics, but I wish I knew Elf was made there too.
That is awesome. And another really interesting thing about this movie is obviously they pulled a lot of inspiration from Rankin Bass,
yes.
From Rudolph specifically. I mean, everything down to the outfits, the aesthetic, like the animation, everything. And I guess, I don't know who dropped the ball, but they didn't get the approval they needed at the beginning of the process. So they had like filmed almost the entire movie, and then they started getting in trouble with Rankin Bass that they were ripping him off. I'm like, what? How did you not figure this out at the beginning? And so, they thankfully they got through that. I mean, obviously, because the movie was made.
Yeah. Or the one where they were worried about, they were having like the check-in with the studio, and they were worried about the stop animation getting cut because they were looking at things that they could cut. So they had that one animator who did the full like snowman scene that we see when Will Ferrell's leaving the North Pole, and she worked like I think 27 hours, or they said something crazy straight to make sure it made it into the final cut before they showed the studio to prevent the stop animation from getting cut.
Yeah, you see this a lot in Hollywood. You really have to show your idea because you can't necessarily just tell it, because everyone has a different imagination. So, they could have easily told the studio like, no, we're gonna have like stop motion animation, it's gonna be like so sweet, like you gotta just let us finish it. And they, executive not known for having a great imagination would have been like, that sounds stupid, we're cutting it. But they know that they have to be visual, they have to put their idea out there so that the studios see how genius it is. And they did. They like worked around the clock to give them the stop motion animation, which I think totally makes the movie. I mean, obviously it would still be a good movie without that, but it's just that beautiful finishing touch that puts it up there with these Christmas classics. And also, I didn't know that like the one workshop elf with the clipboard that's always like, hey buddy, like we need to get to work or whatever. I didn't know that was the little kid from Christmas Story.
I know, I didn't know that either. I found that out.
Crazy.
I also thought it was really fascinating to see how they made all the shots happen, because you would think now like if this movie was, because it was made in what, the 90s? The 2000s? Elf? 2000s?
No, I don't remember. I think it's early 2000s, maybe.
Early 2000s.
Definitely not 90s.
Okay.
Definitely not 90s.
But we're in, 2020 now. You would probably just assume, oh yeah, everything is computers. Will Ferrell's in front of a green screen, like, it's just computers to make him look that way. And they really didn't want to rely on that, and so they did a lot of, what is it called, Lisa, where they get the shot, the forced perspective, and they really focused on all the different ways that they could make it happen.
Which I love.
I thought it was so fun to see.
I love when they really do it, instead of just everything being computer graphics. It's like that famous internet image of, George Lucas standing around all the puppets from the original Star Wars movies, and then they show him in front of a green screen, which was everybody they used for the prequels. It's like it's so much more special when they really bring it to life with materials. It's tangible.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that kind of leads nicely into The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is the second movie that they featured in Holiday Movies That Made Us. And I would say right off the bat, the number one thing that surprised me was that Tim Burton didn't have that much to do with it.
I agree.
His name was on it, but he just kind of popped in every once in a while. I thought this was literally like him there every single day, like his hands-on project.
Agreed.
But that is not the case.
Agreed. Especially think to this day, I also was surprised that he didn't direct it. Like, I think we all think of like Tim Burton directs this movie.
Yeah, when it says Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, we all assume that he directed it, and it turns out the reason Disney put his name on there is because they were suddenly scared it was going to fail. And they're like, we do not want to call this Disney's Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, we are going to put your name on it, so if it fails, everybody points the fingers at you, Tim.
Well, they even released it.
Success, and then they're like, oh, just kidding, like, it's our movie.
Oh, no, Brian. Now it's just part of the theme park. It's in the Haunted Mansion,
right,
you know?
Yeah.
It's just a marquee thing that people come and see every year. But I also thought, I didn't realize this either, that it wasn't released under the Disney name, that it was released under Touchstone, which is the sister... Yeah. I didn't realize that, you probably knew, but it's the sister label of Disney.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that out too when I was watching. But yeah, I mean, they put it under Touchstone, they put Tim Burton's name on it. They were really getting fearful there at the end that this was not going to be like a good representation of Disney.
Yes.
And I think it did really well when it came out, but then it was more the like sleeper hit that like became the biggest cult following ever or something like that.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because I think it made money, but it didn't make tons of money. It wasn't a smash hit because keep in mind, One Nightmare Before Christmas, I think they compared it to Aladdin, so I think releases were around there. Like, Aladdin is just like a box, like, office hit. Like, it made so much money versus Nightmare Before Christmas. They were really worried that, like, only teenagers and maybe adults would see it when it was they were really concerned about it being more of a family movie. But I think like as we've seen with other things, like I think of like Donnie Darko or like Arrested Development, the Netflix at the time it was VHS and DVDs really gave this movie a resurgence. Yeah,
it's so one of my favorite things that it says in Mystery Science Theater is at the very, very end of the credits, it has a little line that says, keep circulating the tapes. And that's because it was not that popular back in the day, but people would record it on VHS and then share it with other people. And that's kind of how it gained its following, was by word of mouth. So, you know, that's kind of similar. But so this is another example of a movie that gets into production and does not have a finalized script. And this blows my mind. Every time this happens in one of these episodes, I'm like screaming at Sean. And I'm like, why? How does this happen? How do you not have a finalized story? Like, you don't even know how it's going to end. I mean, similarly, we watched the behind the scenes of Frozen 2 on Disney Plus, which is incredible. It's called Into the Unknown, and it talks about they follow the team like 6 months before the movie's release. And they don't even know how the movie's going to end up until like a couple months until it's released.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Animation is almost fully complete. And they're like, wait, so who's going to be at Holland? And they're like, well, we think it's going to be like, you know, Elsa's future self, or like it's like her, like Elsa sees her. They didn't turn it. I mean, spoiler. I'm sure you've all seen Frozen 2, but you know, it's her like mom that's calling her from afar. They did not figure that out until really far into production, like animation almost fully completed. And this just blows my mind because I feel like solidifying a script is step A in making a movie.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I think so. I thought it was also fascinating that they're like, okay, well, we don't have a script, but we have the budget and we need to move, so what do we do? And so they had Danny Elfman, who I also didn't know was the lead singer of Oingo Boingo. Boingo.
Oingo Boingo.
I knew he was because I think if you think too much of him as like more of a composer, he is like Tim Burton's right-hand man. You don't think of him as the go-to guy for it. He kind of talks pretty frankly about how he was like, I can't do scores. Why is Tim Burton coming to me? And then he did it on a whim, and he because his agent refused to call Tim Burton and say no. That Danny Elfman actually started composing the songs and started building it out. And so like I think one of the first songs they started with, they said it was "What's This?" and was the first things they shot to show to Disney because it was happy and cheery and looking around Christmas Town, so it didn't freak out Disney. To pull funding.
You know, there's like a podcast I was listening to earlier this year with a director, and she was talking about imposter syndrome in the entertainment industry and how how rampant it is, because so much of this industry is just people being thrown into situations saying, I don't know what I'm doing, and then figuring it out. Mm-hmm. It's just a weird industry we live in. And I mean, it's happened to me 100 times. Like when I got a hosting job for esports, and I called Kaitlin, panicked, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Obviously, I know how to host, but I don't know that much about esports. I don't know the terminology. I have to film in 2 days. I'm going to be on stage in front of people. It's going to be live stream. What do I do? And Kaitlin just gave me this awesome crash course on like how to host for esports. And I ended up winging it and getting through it and doing a decent job. But so, I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, I see it with Sean constantly. My husband's a producer for MGM Resorts here in Las Vegas. And there's just jobs that come out of left field that he's like, I don't know how to do this, but he just has to figure it out. Yeah. So it's just really funny to me that Danny Elfman, who we all see as this like, I don't know, I figured he was a composer since birth. He's just like that kind of genius.
Yeah.
But he just said, I don't compose, but I guess I do now. And he just tried it, and he's amazing at it.
Yes. And then because of that and building out the songs, it kind of built like, okay, this is the plot. And then they the original writer, like took the money and ran. And so then they brought in another writer who was, I think she did Edward Scissorhands and a couple other things that she had worked with Tim on.
Yeah, it was Danny Elfman's girlfriend at the time, living with him in the house. Yeah.
And then she started to build it out, and she's like, well, there's not a lot we need to say about Jack. Jack's really thought out. He's doing all the songs. And so then she started really adding a lot of more depth into Sally and really getting Sally to the place that we see her today, which I think is awesome, that it really like humanized her and made her into such a beloved character.
Stripper that they had.
Oh yeah, the like Barbarella or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the beloved character and couple that we see today, because I think it was really fascinating to see that Danny Elfman and the writer, I forget what her name is, I think it was like Caroline, put so much of themselves into the character and made it so real and put their emotions in it. And I think that really resonates with the movie. You can feel it.
Well, Jack is the ultimate story of just feeling like he doesn't belong. You know, he's worshipped as, you know, the king of Halloween, but in his heart, it doesn't feel right. He feels like there's something more. And that's the perfect personality of somebody who works in Hollywood. Like, that's kind of how we all are. Like, we all are searching for something more, and we want to do more, and it's cool because, I mean, like you said, they put so much of themselves into it, and I think that's what turned this, you know, just it's a movie about moving clay. It's just a bunch of dolls just walking around. Like, they humanized it. And they did such a good job. I mean, it's really one of my favorite movies. I've always loved it, and I've always loved Corpse Bride, which is, you know, very similar. If you haven't seen Corpse Bride, please watch it, because I personally am just in love with that movie, and so many people have never seen it. So
I also, similar to like Elf, I also appreciated, I forget her name, but the woman that was in charge of the budget. And she worked for Disney. They sent her up there. She didn't want to go, and she's like, fine, I'll go if you send my desk. So they like shipped her full desk up to San Francisco. And then she starts to realize, like, as the things get moving and stuff, that we're going to be over budget. So she's like, cut this, get it this way, get it to this place. She brings it to Disney, and she's like, okay, now give me a list of cuts. Like, if you have to make cuts, give me 6 scenes. What would you take? Blah, blah. And so they give her the list of cuts. She shows it to Disney. They love it. And she's like, great. That's a $24 million movie. If you want an $18 million movie, these are the things we're going to lose. So Disney gave her the rest of the budget.
So smart.
So smart.
She was so smart. Like, she saved the entire movie. God, I love that. I love how sometimes it just takes one person doing something crafty to make a movie happen.
Yes.
So,
agreed.
So yeah, we've just kind of covered the basics of the process of these two amazing movies. So please go check those out. It's called The Holiday Movies That Made Us. It's on Netflix. It's there now. There's only 2 episodes, even though I thought there was going to be 4, but there's only 2. And they're safe to watch with the family. I think it's, I think kids would also really enjoy it, maybe. Yeah. It's kind of edited. It's got like quick cuts and like it's edited in kind of a goofy, fun way that I think
like older kids. I think Chloe would have a hard time watching.
No, Chloe would not give 2 craps about watching it like older kids.
And then also, if you have not watched Movies That Made Us, there's at least 2 Christmas episodes in there, we would argue, with Die Hard and Home Alone. And so you could watch that as well. Yeah,
and they're all very well done. So moving on. While our holiday movie club has been going on, and we're trying to watch as many holiday movies as we can. We have also been watching The Great British Baking Show because
Love
it's
it!
also,
Love
they
it!
just released a new season and it's so amazing.
Yes, spoilers,
we
our
love it so
boy
much.
Peter won. Woo!
Yes, spoilers, yeah. And it's just the most relaxing show. It kind of just resets you,
it.
honestly.
I
You could
love
be
it.
having the most crazy day and we just sit down on the couch and we text each other and like we eat whatever sugar we can find in our house and watch
every
an episode of the
time
show.
we watch an episode, whatever they're making, I'm like, Lisa, I need that.
Yes, for real. It makes you so hungry.
Me so much. I also think it's like the other thing me and Lisa talk a lot about is like, you know, it's not like it's a happy feel good show. It's a reality show where the other contestants help each other. They're all very much supportive versus like this is not a Survivor. This is not an America's Next Top Model where everyone's out for themselves. Like it's very much like very low key, no drama. Like it's just feel good.
It's very wholesome and pure. And I would also like to say that last year, my friend Ben sent me the Great British Bake Off Get Baking for Friends and Family cookbook.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm holding it up for Kaitlin to see. She didn't even know I had this.
With recipes by Paul Hollywood.
And Prue with Paul and Prue. Look how cute
Oh
they
my
look.
gosh, it's
happy.
so cute.
That's like the biggest I've ever seen Paul Hollywood smile. Look at him smile. Look at that
smile. Oh my god,
right there. Do you see it?
The smoldering jungle cat. I don't trust it.
Okay, I'm going to flip through this and I'm going to ask you a couple recipes and you tell me if you know what they are.
Are you going to be like a Battenberg? I don't even remember what it was other than I was like, Lisa, what is this?
Right. Okay, because there's a lot of wacky things on the show. Okay, let's see. Okay. Mango fruit hat pudding. Do you know what that is?
Is it? I mean, I kind of saw a picture. Is it like one of those like a bundt cake with pudding in it?
It is. Oh my god!
I mean, I can see, like the camera's right there. I can see it.
It literally looks like a pudding, like a dessert, with a mango fruit hat. It's called mango fruit hat pudding. It looks like a pudding that has mango and fruit as a hat.
I mean, I think I texted you and said, like, is custard a thick pudding? Like, I'm not the expert here.
Next. Pina colada roulade. Roulade.
I could make
we have heard this term on Bake Off before.
I could make you a pina colada.
It is a classic cocktail combined with a classic dessert. The roasted pineapple gives the roulade a sweet and tropical tang. I thought it was going to be a description of the dessert. That was not helpful. It's like this. It looks like kind of like a Swiss roll a little bit.
Oh,
kinda.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's find one more goofy one. And then, okay, how about, come on, let's get some really Britishy. Oh, pastries. Here we go. Okay, cannoli, you know what that is?
Yes.
Mince pies, you know what that is? Oh, we have heard these a lot on Bake Off. Let's see if you can remember what they are. Mini Neapolitan rum babas.
Oh, isn't it like I want to say it's like a rum cake, but I think I'm wrong. Like a little rum cake.
Yes! Look it. It looks like a little cake.
I did it!
You're right.
Thank you.
You were
Where's
right.
my handshake, Paul Hollywood?
It says these delicate, light, and airy little yeast cakes are soaked in rum. Wow. Can I give you a handshake?
Handshake!
To the video? Handshake.
I mean, I think about this all the time. If you meet Paul Hollywood, does he not shake your hand? When you introduce yourself? Does he just ignore
Maybe if you have a really good intro, like a really good first impression, then he's like, that deserves a handshake.
Yeah.
So the only problem that I have found... Wait, no. This is in teaspoons and stuff. Oh, yeah. Okay, so a lot of this is in weight, because countries other than America weigh things when they bake, which is a much more accurate way of baking than
we just wing it.
Yeah, we just kind of wing it. So I need to make one of these recipes and then report back how it turns out. But yeah, we're just gonna quickly blaze through this. So one of my all-time favorite shows is called Derry Girls on Netflix, and it takes place in Derry in North Ireland back during the Troubles in the 90s, when they're having all of their political altercations, and it follows some school-aged girls who go to an all-girls Catholic school, like Irish Catholic school, except for one of their cousins. Yeah, it's their cousin named James. He's a boy, so he's like the only boy in an all-girls school, and it just kind of follows their trials and tribulations. But the humor it's off the charts. Like it's usually you get these British shows or Irish shows, and the humor doesn't really translate because we don't really understand their sense of humor. It totally translates. It's easy to follow. It's brilliant. It's genius. You have to watch it. And in this particular episode of Great British Baking Show, the festive episode, they had the cast of Derry Girls on, and the most fun thing about it is that they are terrible bakers.
I also enjoy this because this is literally how Lisa and me, and probably you, the listener, would be if we were on the show. Like, the same reaction. I think this is also why we love Lottie so much from last season, is just like keeping it real. Like, it's our connection in there, like how ridiculous this is and how hard it is to bake. Let alone a bake where you have a jungle cat like Paul Hollywood circling you and smoldering and staring and judging everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Judging your every movement
100%.
with his steel blue eyes.
100%.
God, I love Paul Hollywood. Yeah, it's so normally everything we see in the Bake Off tent is next level. Like, it's genius. I could never bake like this. And you just sit on the couch in awe. Well, also judging people. You're sitting there on the couch like, oh, they didn't whip it enough. It's not stiff peaks. And you think you know what you're talking about. And then if you were to step in the tent, you would completely fail. And that's kind of what the Derry Girls did. So I would say it was kind of a combination of Nailed It and the classic GBBO.
Yes.
Which is great because Nailed It is really fun on Netflix.
I think it's better than Nailed It because
it is.
Because they also all know each other. So they're all riffing off each other.
Yeah.
They're having fun. There's some camaraderie, but you can tell like a little bit of rivalry, but it's like in a pleasant way. Like they're all friends. They all work together.
Yes, it's very comedic. It is. And I'd say, it's the first time we've seen bad baking, just straight up bad baking in the Bake Off tent. And so it's very enjoyable because poor Prue and Paul are just trying to give them the best compliments that they can, given the circumstances. But you can kind of tell that it's just really amateur.
Yes, I'm excited.
So it's super relatable. It's really fun. Yeah.
I know. I need to watch Derry Girls now because they're all hilarious. So I can't wait to see what they do on this show. I'm also excited to watch the next episode with you, Lisa, because Lisa and I always watch it live and text each other.
Yes. Yeah, so there's one more. There's a Christmas episode. They have like the festive episodes, I think, kind of like New Year's, and then they have the Christmas episode. So yeah, that's the next one we're gonna watch. The only sad thing about the Derry Girls episode is they didn't have the character Orla on, and so there's another girl in their little crew, and her name is Orla, and she's so weird and she's so off her rocker, and she's probably my favorite character. So I was kind of sad when she wasn't on the show, but like Siobhan was there and Saoirse was there and Jamie Lee was there. Like it's like everybody else was there. Dylan, who plays James, and they all just Nicola, the other girl. I think I named everybody. Yeah. They all did an amazing job, and they're all super funny. So go watch that. It's great. It's great crack, as they would say in Ireland. But moving on, let's talk about a movie called Hometown Holiday.
Oh, Lisa,
take it away, Kaitlin.
So the recap on Hometown Holiday is a lawyer attempts to sign a viral country music star, but falls in love with a small town florist and aspiring actress. I have strong thoughts about this movie. I think for the most part, we've been like, oh, I recommend this. It was okay. Or it was like, or we would watch this, blah, blah. I do not recommend this holiday movie.
I
really
tried to watch it. Yeah. So Kaitlin texted me and she's like, so we always try to, figure out what we're going to watch the week before we do the podcast. Like, okay, what shows are we going to watch? A movie? And she texted me, she's like, I watched Hometown Holiday. And she didn't sound stoked about the fact that she watched it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch it too. And I sat down and I got about 20 minutes into it and I turned it off. I could not make it through.
So
I don't even know what happens. So you'll have to tell me what happens because you are like a champ. You made it till the end.
I'll break it down. So we basically open with Wes, who is the country music star who goes viral, and a lawyer named Ryan who attempts to go sign Wes. So he goes to the same.
I already have questions. After only watching 20 minutes, I already have questions.
Oh, because I have so many questions.
So the country singer goes viral because he's sitting alone in his living room, singing a song about his dead wife.
Yes.
Or is it just a Christmas carol, like singing it to her or something? Anyway, his little kid walks up behind him, films it on the phone, uploads it onto the internet by himself with the caption, with the very searchable caption of, like, country singer sings about deceased wife or something, like a perfect title. And then he becomes like the biggest internet sensation of all time. So is that what happened? Because this kid looked like he was like 6 years old.
Yes, that's what happened.
How did he know?
Also, I'm not an expert in the entertainment industry, so Lisa, break this down for me. I don't think a lawyer would go and attempt to sign someone. Wouldn't it be an agent or a manager? Why is the lawyer going?
Yeah, I feel like it'd be an agent and manager. What's a lawyer doing?
They are very clear. It's a lawyer who's wanting to go to talk about the contract and get him to sign a contract. So,
dude, if like a normal kid uploaded a video on the internet, the title would be like, "Lol, my dad fart" or something.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's a full title of like local country sensation singing alone in living room about deceased wife. Like, I don't, whatever it was. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
They gloss over a lot of logic, and it's a common theme across this. So he goes to the small town where this Wes lives. And it's the same town where his sister is, Maggie. So we get to meet Maggie and Daryl, her husband. I'll say, Maggie and Daryl are the best characters in this entire movie. Where is our spin-off movie of Maggie and Daryl? Because they also gloss over the logic of, they're like, oh, well, Wes will be at this wedding, just come with us. And they're like, well, wouldn't that be rude? And they're like, that's not how things work around here. And I'm like, okay, there's the logic. Like, let me just invite this random stranger to this wedding.
Are you questioning the plot of this movie? Just come on. Oh, yes.
I also was pumped because they get to this wedding, and they make him wear, like, one of Daryl's shirts so he blends in a little bit more and looks a little rancher, because that's what they do in the country in this movie. And they get to the wedding, and Daryl's pumped because they have ribs, and proceeds to go get ribs for his wife, too. And that's his mission, to get ribs for him and his wife and bring it back. And I was like, kudos to Daryl. Daryl and Maggie
like
are the best.
That's like my mission at every wedding.
Dude, I'd be pumped
when
if there were ribs.
When can I go get the food?
At a wedding.
Must get as much food right. Where ribs at a wedding is quite strange. But like, when can I get up and get the food? How much food can I fit on this plate? I need to get some for my whole family that I will eat most of. Yeah, he's on a mission for food. I get that.
Yeah, I get it. And I'd be pumped if there were ribs. Any type of barbecue at a wedding. I mean, it's a little messy, but I'm down. It's
so messy, isn't it? You're supposed to dress nice to a wedding. Ribs are notoriously the messy. Ribs and wings, like, notoriously the messiest foods you can eat. And they're like, all these people in their friggin' gowns. It's for this wedding. So, they'll be fine.
At this wedding, we also get the most awkward scene where Wes, who is now popular because he's gone viral, all the girls are surrounding him and they want to hang out. So the lawyer, Ryan, just walks up to him and goes, "We need to talk business." And they like shoo all the women away.
Talk business.
It's just so awkward. Like, I think
this is about when I turned it off, so I don't know what happens after that. Can you please sum up?
He meets the florist and our love interest.
Wait, why is
Krista.
this Christmas at all? So far, there's no Christmas.
Yeah.
Is there any Christmas?
There is Christmas. I'll get to it. Don't worry, Lisa.
Okay.
So he meets Krista, the florist and aspiring actress. They walk around. Krista thinks he's a rancher. And so just thinks that he works at another farm or something else, or that he's friends with Daryl, who's the sister's husband. And so then they just kind of like walk around and have a montage of them getting to know each other with the most obvious push-shove while laughing to show that they have chemistry, that I was just like, oh, Lisa. And this is where I...
Oh, he pushed you. Oh, I pushed him back. Oh, you're so funny. Oh my God, swish my hair.
This is where I got fed up and I went, this movie is so boring, Lisa. We're at the halfway mark. He's not attractive enough to be such a bad actor.
It sounds like an even worse version of A Very Country Christmas. a little bit.
It is. And
Okay.
so I think the other thing that we brought up too is like, so then we get to Daryl and the sister, like he FaceTimes the sister and she's pregnant. So she's like, get me an ice cream sandwich. So Daryl gets her an ice cream sandwich and then they dance around with the ice cream sandwich. And I was like, give me more of the sister and Daryl. They're way more fun. On top of it, Daryl proceeds to give the guy tips on being a rancher, being like accepted by the country community, going to Sign West, and he gives 4 tips on how to blend in that I must read you, Lisa.
Oh my god. Okay, yes. 4 tips on how to blend
Daryl's
in.
tips on how to blend in country life. 1, take off your hat when you enter someone's home.
Okay.
2, never complain, no matter how hard the work is.
Okay.
3, leave any gate the way you just found it.
Like a gate, like you walk through?
Yeah, so like think of like there's probably like animals and other stuff. Like you always close the gate behind you, or if you found a closed gate, you don't leave a gate open because then like livestock would get out.
What if you find an open gate? You leave it open. Leave it the way you found it.
Leave it the way you found it, yeah.
Okay.
And 4, never criticize a man's horse or dog.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
I would say that I didn't grow up on a farm, but my family owns a lot of farmland in Idaho. And on my mom's side of the family, they have been farmers for generations. I've heard a lot of complaining from that side of the family. So I don't know about the number 2. But okay, the other ones are believable, I guess. Respect. Yeah. It's about respect, you know?
So then the main love interest, Krista, thinks he's a rancher. But there's no payoff on him, she like had the mistaken identity plot they're trying to play with. There's no payoff. Everything's fine. She figures it out, and then she's just like, I knew you were a rancher, and everything's hunky-dory and fine. Which is just bizarre. So then we get to the Christmas part of this is where Krista's auditioning for A Christmas Story. A Christmas Carol with Scrooge. And she gets the main lead. Which
she gets Scrooge?
Well, that's what I thought too. She's not Scrooge. She's Mrs. Crockett. And I'm like, well, you're not the lead then.
Yeah.
I would argue the leads are Scrooge, Crockett.
Wait, Crockett? Isn't it Crumpet?
I think it's Crockett. I think it's Jim Crockett.
No, Bob Cratchit.
Oh, you're thinking of Cratchit. Cratchit's the other ghost.
Is it like Davy Crockett? That's my favorite moment of all the episodes of Lisa and Caitlin's Holiday Movie Club. That's my favorite.
Yes, Crockett. And so I was like, but I also would argue she doesn't have that big of a part. What do you? I would probably argue one of the ghosts of Christmas present, past, or whatever have a bigger part than Mrs. Or is it Cratchit? Crockett?
Cratchit.
Cratchit?
No, not Crockett. It's Cratchit. It's Bob Cratchit.
Bob Cratchit. Well then, it's Marley and the partners that are the ghosts. It's Marley and is it Marley and Farley? That's gonna be hilarious.
Lisa and Kaitlin try to remember the cast of A Christmas Carol. Oh
okay,
my God.
So that's like our Christmas payoff. So she proceeds to be like, I want you to know who I am. I want to be an actress. And he immediately breaks up with her because he's been dealt with 3 other actresses and wants none of it. So Lisa, break this down for me. How do you feel about the betrayal of dating an actress in this movie?
Okay, to be fair, I would never date an actor, ever. I would never do it. And I've always said that, and I never have. Mm-hmm. I stayed true to that mantra.
I mean, I've never dated an actor. I don't think I would blacklist them, though.
I would blacklist. No, I'm not going to blacklist. There's a lot of very lovely actors. But look, I love actors for what they do and the passion that they have and the conflict inside of them that allows them to bring it forward and, you know, give an amazing performance. Like, you have to be kind of a weirdo in order to be a good actor, and that's great for a career. I don't want to date that. So that's just a personal thing. A lot of you out there listening, go date actors. They're awesome.
I also imagine it's got to be hard when you have two actors dating each other, because most of the time you get sent away on long like places or other entertainers and things, so you have to get used to doing the distance thing a lot. You don't get to stay together, which I assume would be hard. You know, it's a challenge in the relationship and something that you have to be prepared for. But I think if you were maybe get into it and you know it, then it's easier. But
it's also very competitive, and even with boys and girls, like it's kind of, even if it's somebody that you love dearly, if they're getting a ton of roles and you're not, it's just going to make you feel bad about yourself, because that's all actors want to do in the world is they want work and they want to do their craft and perform in front of people. And if their spouse is doing it and they're not, it's going to not be good for the relationship. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think actors should date each other. But it's worked for a lot of people, so good on them. Yes,
good on you if it works for you.
Good on you.
So then they break up. He proceeds to go back to LA and says the most quintessential thing that I've ever said, which I agree with, where he's heartbroken and goes, I just want to binge watch reality shows and eat cheesecake. Yeah. 100%.
I could go for some cheesecake right
now. There's some good one-liners in this movie, or like the time that he wears the plaid shirt and he's like, people are either going to think I'm a lumberjack or a hipster. Like, there are moments in this that you're like, or Daryl, the chemistry and the things they're doing with Daryl and Maggie, Daryl's like tips for country living. There are moments, but it's just, it's not
enough to
If you told me that this did not have a script, I would completely understand.
Yeah, so I think we should just be done talking about it. If you want to watch it, fine.
No, Lisa.
We don't think it's that
we got to end this real quick. I got to tell you how it ends. Get you caught up on this.
Oh, right, the ending. So I was already like so not interested in the story that I'm like, I don't even care how it ends.
They do have a gazebo, so kudos to them for getting the gazebo shot. 2.
Yes.
So then he decides that he wants to be with her. He proceeds to propose to her dressed as Santa Claus on stage. And I was just like, don't do it, Krista. Don't say yes.
Don't do that.
There's nothing redeeming about this lead character other than he loves his sister. That was it.
Dude, these rom-coms, they cannot end in proposals. Do not end it in a proposal. You've completely lost me once you do it.
Yes.
But also, it's these cheesy movies. Fine. Why
not?
End it in a proposal.
Do not recommend. If you have it in the background while you're folding laundry, but even then, I'm like, you could find better things to have in the background folding laundry.
Skip it.
Like Christmas Catch.
Yes, exactly. So, moving on. Dash and Lily is our last thing we're going to talk about in this episode.
Yes.
So Dash and Lily is our little sweetheart of a program that has surprised all of us this Christmas season. We were not expecting a Christmas series because the only other Christmas series that we have watched was Merry Happy Whatever, I think last year.
Yes, which is no longer around.
Yeah, it's no longer around. We weren't super impressed with it. It had its moments for sure, but and this series took a totally different direction. It's single camera, not 4 camera, and it follows these two young individuals. How old are they? Like 17, 18, 19?
I think they're like 17.
No, she can drink. Wait, no.
I think they're 17.
She's underage because she can't.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're thinking like 17. Yeah, so you really have to watch it to understand it because it's so endearing. So basically, Dash is our lead man, and he's a little. You know, why am I explaining it? Can you? This is what you're good at, Kaitlin. Can you?
No, Lisa, you're doing great. Keep going.
No, I'm not doing good. I'm stumbling over my words. Give us just a quick, simple rundown of the story. Line, go.
Okay, so Dash and Lily have been communicating via notebook around Christmas. So
yes, they've never met.
They've never met. And so
they don't know each other's names or anything about that.
Yeah. Lily loves Christmas and is one of those carefree, happy people who it feels a little bit like outcast that she doesn't fit in, but she gets really goes well with adults. She kind of marches to the beat of her own drum. And then we have Dash, who is a teenager who hates Christmas, doesn't want anything to do with it. So this is them communicating back and forth and kind of finding love and kind of reestablishing Dash's love for the holiday season again and kind of, I don't know, discovering himself. I know it's cheesy, but it's they both discover a lot about each other in the process.
It's true. And because this is the way that the story unfolds, the screenwriters did such an amazing job of just building the tension for 5 episodes. Like,
yes.
all we want is for these two to meet.
Mm-hmm.
They have started to learn so many things about each other. You know, it's easier to write things down than it is to talk about them. So they're kind of bearing their soul to each other and talking about their problems, their likes and their dislikes. And, you know, it's really sweet how they're kind of falling in love with this mystery person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just want them to meet so bad. And it finally happens, I believe, in episode 6.
Yes.
Is that when the party happens?
Yes,
So they meet each other at a rich kid party.
Mm-hmm.
Like your classic trust fund baby, you know, everybody's, you know, dressed like, you know, I can't say it on the podcast. Women of the night.
They're dressed like they're going to, or I was going to say, they're dressed like they're going to go to a club. They're dressed like they're going out on the town. They're going to a club. They're going to a bar. And then Lily shows up in her handmade Christmas sweater that looks like a Christmas tree.
It's super cute. But yeah, super weird. And you wouldn't wear it to this type of party. And she ends up meeting Dash at the food table, but they don't know that the other person is the other person, you know? They don't know it's the notebook girl, the notebook guy. But they still show that they have some chemistry, just kind of chatting at this food table. And then she kind of gets pulled away by the guy that brought her there. He gets pulled away by his ex-girlfriend. And then they kind of discover later, or she finds out later that, oh my gosh, that was Dash. He's the notebook boy. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. But then he went home with his ex-girlfriend. And so we're all just like on the edge of our seats because like, oh no, they have other people pulling them away and it's never going to work. And then that was the end of episode 6. And so I couldn't stop. I had to keep watching because I was too invested.
Mm-hmm.
And then episode 7 happened. And I gotta say, like, I understand why they did it. I understand that they had to build conflict and they couldn't just give us the super happy, fuzzy ending that we all wanted. They had to just ruin it somehow because that's what movies and TV shows do. So she gets really upset. She goes to a bar. She gets drunk. She starts making out with the jerk guy. And it's her first kiss ever. And then Dash walks in and sees her. And he's like, Lily? And your heart just breaks like the second it happens. And then Dash, like, this is what I don't understand. Like, why didn't he just turn around and leave? And then they could have dealt, like, the screenwriters could have gone, like, a different direction. I hate that they did this. I hate that they threw them both in an Uber. And then they just start bickering and arguing in the back seat. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like, all I ever wanted was for, like, magic to happen between these two. And now they just kind of hate each other in the back of a car. And it was kind of sad. Again, I understand why they did it. Because they needed a big conflict before the resolution in the finale episode. But I didn't like it.
No. I also didn't like how mean he was to Boomer. So, like, Boomer's not at the party.
Right.
So Boomer has met Lily before, and he's interacted, but Boomer is kind of, like, he thinks Lily is good for Dash, so he doesn't want to reveal that he knows who Lily is. He wants them to find each other on their own. And so he ends up, when he goes to his house on Christmas, and he was like, you knew who Lily was, and brr, 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 and he, like, is in his face, and he's like, just come inside, have Christmas. And Dash is a little brat and storms off, and it's just like...
He is very bratty. Very super bratty.
You know, I was just like, Boomer's been a bro for you from the entire time. He left work and ran you the notebook. Like, he had your back or invite you places or told you why he didn't think you were a good match with Sophia. So I also was sad when, at the end, Boomer ended up with Sophia. Because I was just like...
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
It was kind of strange.
But it was fine.
It wasn't the choice I'd make.
The finale... I mean, I guess this is hard because it was such an amazing lead up that...
You mean the Jonas Brothers didn't do it for you?
Yeah, so everybody watching has their own idea of how they want it to wrap up, and it's an impossible situation for the writers, and I understand that. But the finale was kind of weird. So the Jonas Brothers are just in it now. Yeah. Like, they're at a Jonas Brothers concert, heavily featuring the Jonas Brothers. The little group of friends with Dash, they end up in the trailer for one of the Jonases. Nicholas Jonas.
Who is the
And then,
executive producer of the show.
Yes, so that's why. So Nick Jonas walks into the trailer and is like, hey guys, what are you doing to my trailer? But also, let me give you some advice on love. And I'm like, this is really strange and really awful. But then Kaitlin reminded me, Nick Jonas is an executive producer of the show. And I'm like, okay, it all makes sense now. He's like, I gotta be in it.
Yeah.
So that's fine. We're gonna let that slide, even though it's incredibly ham-fisted. But then, we get a couple cute moments in the finale where all looks lost and Lily's heading to the airport to move to Fiji. Dash is all on New Year's, and Dash decides that he really does love Lily, and he sets up this whole big cute surprise for her in the bookstore where he first found the notebook, and it doesn't look like she's going to make it, and the bookstore's going to close, and she's stuck in traffic. But then she jumps out of the car and runs through traffic, the classic romantic comedy moment, which I loved. Very cute. And she runs through the bookstore, but it's locked. But then the funny elf guy, what's his name?
What's his name? It's Jeff the Elf.
It's Jeff the Elf is he's got the key and then lets her in. And then it's so magical as she walks into the bookstore and it's got the Christmas lights and this whole display that Dash has set up, which kind of recaps the entire series and all of the dares that they went through and the ways that she experienced New York for the first time. And then he sees her and she has her little Kate Winslet rom-com moment of, expressing her feelings for him. And then she kisses him and it's super cute. And then the movie just kind of should have ended there because after that, it gets really awkward and weird.
Yeah,
the phone keeps ringing. She's texting people. She's just kind of walking around the bookstore, resolving loose ends. And
they get locked in a room.
Yeah, Dash is kind of just standing there is everything okay? Is something wrong? And it's just super awkward and it just shouldn't have happened that way. So
agreed. Fun fact,
love the series, but it's kind of sad how they had the ending unfold. But it's fine. It's fine.
So the last 4 episodes were directed by Fred Savage. So I think they did a good job of, you could tell that the last 4 really flowed together nicely. So I think having that creative control and that vision across the board just to make sure everything went together, I think was really important. And I think he did a great job with that. Especially because the Sophie and Edgar episode, which was episode 5, could have gone really sideways where you kind of changed the perspective and you're looking at the other characters. So I think he did a really good job with that and the connective tissue all the way through.
Totally. I think it was very well directed. The aesthetic was amazing. The acting was incredible.
100%.
Everything about it was fantastic.
Langston
was just
so good. But yeah, it didn't.
There was just 2 choices that the writers made that were a little not my favorite. But it worked. Yeah. It worked. And it's fine. And it's absolutely worth a watch. Those moments do not take away from the series at all. And I think everyone should watch it.
100%.
Sweet.
So now that you've seen the entire series, Lisa.
Yeah.
What was your favorite episode? Because you know mine.
The same one as you.
3.
The same one as you. Yeah.
It was such a good episode.
I also enjoyed the Cinderella episode, which was the one right after that. Mm-hmm. But it's a toss-up between episode 1 and episode 3, I think, for me. Mm-hmm. Because I loved the mystery of episode 1 before we meet Lily. Mm-hmm. Because that's when you're just like, oh, that's what this show's about. This is gonna be awesome. So I liked being titillated. Kaitlin, I was titillated.
Yes.
Episode 1.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to watch it, definitely watch 1 and 2 back to back. And episode 3 is our favorite, so if you're going to give it a good try, make it all the way through 3. If you're not hooked by 3, the show is just not for you.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It's worth it, and we're out of time. So, Kaitlin, do you have any closing remarks?
I don't think so. I hope everyone is enjoying watching holiday movies as much as we are. We have yet to watch this weird Lifetime KFC thing that I sent you.
Oh my gosh.
That has been going around. We have to watch it. So we'll probably talk about that next week because I think it airs tomorrow.
So excited.
We'll have to find it.
Yep.
We'll have to find it.
Mario Lopez
and KFC, as Colonel Sanders.
How do you say no as Colonel Sanders? Anyway, thank you for watching our show. We have 2 episodes left. You can follow me at Lisa Foyles and check out my book, Ash Ridley and the Phoenix. It's a great Christmas present for a young reader in your life, and I encourage you to check out independent bookstores before you head to Amazon and Barnes & Noble, just because they need it more so this holiday season.
100%.
Like Powell's is a great one, and then what is your friend's?
Lake Forest Bookstore, which is
lakeforestbookstore.com.
lakeforestbookstore.com.
Yes, lakeforestbookstore.com. Please check it out there. I would appreciate it. They would appreciate it. Kaitlin, how can we contact you?
You can always follow me on Twitter at KStewTurley. See my updates about esports, League of Legends. Been playing some Shadowlands, so I've been talking about that. Also, as recording this, Disney has announced all the Star Wars content that's coming for us, so it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, so definitely check that out. You can always follow Puns, our snorer in the episode. He is at Puns of Damage, which you can follow him on Instagram. Puns of Damage Frenchie on Instagram. And then Puns and I might be doing some TikToks, so if you're into that, follow us on TikTok at KStewPuns.
I decided that your name kind of sounds like a Pokemon.
KStewPuns.
I just caught a KStewTurley.
KStewTurley. Well, so there's a lot of Kaitlin Stewarts now. So adding the extra name just helps me. So
I love it. It rolls right off the tongue. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for following us. We love you. Bye.